state that Donald Trump won in 2024, and he is campaigning against Donald Trump's corruption.
You aren't the problem. Neither are your fellow Americans. The problem is a corrupt and failing political system. The problem is that the people's elected representatives don't represent the people.
I talk about Donald Trump's cognitive decline every single day, and even that I don't think is enough conversation about Donald Trump's cognitive decline because of the impact it has on our country. Not just through Donald Trump, but very importantly through the handlers who see that Trump is in decline, who see that Trump has no grasp on reality, and they say, you know what, how about I take a little power? How about I take a little control? The unelected, unappointed Elon Musk and Stephen Miller types of the world who are controlling things behind the scenes. And those are the same people who tried to save Donald Trump today as his health collapse was very clearly on display, with him forgetting his presidency, with him falling asleep, a complete collapse that we are going to get into. We are going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now I want to start with someone who's close to Trump, or at least knows him very well, giving a diagnosis of where his health is at. That is Mary Trump, who talked about Donald Trump's brain, his psychology and so much more, before we get to him forgetting his presidency and his handlers trying to save him.
Yes, he's nodding off, and of course, his increasing lack of impulse control and inability to understand what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. I'm also equally concerned about his psychological deterioration. As you know, just for very obvious and definitional reasons, I've never diagnosed him, but he is increasingly meeting many of the criteria for the assessments of the Harris psychopathy checklist. And I just, like any other untreated disorder or illness, you don't get better. Yeah. Your psychiatric disorders don't just magically go away. And what we see with, again, his poor physical health, his clear cognitive decline, and his psychological deterioration is somebody who is under enormous amounts of stress, who lives a very unhealthy lifestyle, who doesn't get enough sleep, who eats poorly, et cetera, et cetera. And this is just going to lead us to a point where he is either incapacitated, which, and I'm not saying this in a flippant way at all, would be the better of the two outcomes, or he continues down this extremely dangerous path when he is putting our country and the world at risk to protect his ego. Right. I mean, that's kind of where we are right now. Yeah. And I think all of it together is a perfect storm of potential horror.
We know that there is, and always has been, something deeply wrong with Donald Trump, and that is only being exaggerated by his cognitive decline, by his anger, his anxiety, and how out of control he is. Donald Trump was always a low-filter person. He is now a no-filter person, lacking inhibition. Donald Trump does whatever he wants at any given moment. And so that puts us in danger of Donald Trump deciding nuclear war is an option. But again, what I think it puts us in greater danger of, and what I want to talk about a little bit later in this video, is Donald Trump's handler saying, yeah, this guy can't be in charge. We already know that top military officials kicked him out of a meeting because he was such a nuisance. So who's to say that there's stuff he doesn't even know is happening? Because clearly he doesn't know what's happening. His briefings are served up to him in 5-minute clips of going kaboom. He doesn't read, he doesn't think critically, he doesn't ask questions. And just today, Donald Trump forgot his own presidency, forgot his own war. And this clip of back-to-back contradictions from Donald Trump shows just that, how out of touch he is on his own war.
We have total control of the Strait of Hormuz, as you know, with our blockade. The blockade's been 100% effective. Nobody's been able to get to it.
How do you want things to end up with the Strait of Hormuz, though? Would you like them to have...
Well, we want it open. We want it free. We don't want tolls. It's international. It's an international waterway. They're not charging.
Literally within seconds, Donald Trump is contradicting himself. Donald Trump is forgetting what he previously said. And Donald Trump maybe just doesn't even know. The strait is open. Then moments later, it is closed. Then moments later, it's open again. Is Donald Trump unaware of what he's saying? Unaware of his contradiction? Or just not aware of what's happening? Or did he forget the previous moment? There are times when Donald Trump says the strait is closed and thus we need to blow Iran off the face of the earth and we're going to negotiate in an even tougher way. And there are also other times when Donald Trump says it's open and that we're winning the war. But he can't keep it straight. He also can't keep himself awake, which is why his handlers have been trying to come to the rescue.
$4 billion for American families. It's safeguarding 350,000 jobs. Just at supermarkets alone, we're going to see a savings of $800 million, which Americans will be able to see when they go and buy their food. The Biden EPA face planted when trying to jam through their restrictions. Americans who wanted to be able to fix their equipment were instead being required to buy far more costly new equipment, and that just doesn't make any sense. Refrigeration trucks were being...
The man is constantly sleeping, and I know this has become less of a story and has lost some of its impact. And that's a damn shame, because we should be freaking out all the time that the President of the United States is constantly falling asleep in public. But I can promise you, his handlers are, because they tried to save him with a little bit of PR. So recently, when Donald Trump fell asleep before the press, people have now started mocking this. Reuters shared this photo and said Donald Trump is asleep in the Oval Office. And Rapid Response 47, an official White House account, responded, "He was blinking, you absolute moron." Yes, one sustained sleeping, drool out of the mouth, falling backwards blink. Yes, one sustained multi-minute blink is what was happening with Donald Trump. They are desperate to pretend that he is not in cognitive decline, which by the way, he is. They are desperate to pretend that he is not constantly falling asleep, which he is. They are trying to save him, but it is not working. It is only driving home the point further that the man isn't in control, right? And I don't want Donald Trump in control of the presidency, but it is quite a scary thing to think about the fact that Donald Trump isn't running things and that anyone else around him can do whatever they want to serve themselves. Again, I don't want Donald Trump running stuff, but it is crazy that there is the power of the presidency ever expanding under Donald Trump, that just any given Joe Schmo can walk in and take a piece of it, with the right bribe, with the right connection. And it makes me think about this in particular, and this is really important and kind of dovetails into what I want to talk about with John Fetterman next. So stick around for that. But JD Vance, after that sprawling report, I believe from the New York Times, came out about how many trades Donald Trump has made or did make in the first quarter of this year. And how many stock trades? 3,700. More than 3,700 stock trades. Donald Trump increasing his net worth by billions off of this insider trading. JD Vance, the genius that he is, my god, went before the press and said this story is so disingenuous. Donald Trump isn't doing all of those trades himself. Oh, okay. I didn't think that Donald Trump was in his Schwab account or his Merrill Lynch account or his Robinhood account or whatever brokerage account he has making all these trades. We know he's relaying the information. But what that communicates from Vance is, oh, you're just openly saying that there are other people tapped into this insider information. You're just sharing it broadly. And who else might this information be communicated to? Who else has a view into what Donald Trump is or is not approving? What contracts are ready to go? Who else is getting the memo before news becomes official? That is terrifying. That is the corruption of this White House. It is broad. It is big. It is literal organized crime. Literal organized crime is what's happening in the White House. JD Vance thinking that it is a defense, that it is saving Donald Trump to say that he is not making the trades himself. JD, you're just telling us that there is a whole apparatus around the presidency that is designed to make Donald Trump money with proprietary information. That's not an it's not a burn on the reporting. That is a damning story in and of itself that we should be talking about more. But corruption is the story of this administration. Pete Hegseth, he was trying to get his $3 million defense ETF purchase in right before the buzzer, right before the war started. Corruption is the story, and few have told that story better than Senator John Fetterman, and I really appreciate what he had to say here.
Georgia Senator John Ossoff is the only Democratic senator up for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won in 2024, and he is campaigning against Donald Trump's corruption.
You aren't the problem. Neither are your fellow Americans. The problem is a corrupt and failing political system. The problem is that the people's elected representatives don't represent the people. They represent the donors and special interests. Corruption is why things don't work for ordinary people. This fight isn't just about politics. It isn't just about one man or one party. It's about power. Who has it and who our system serves. If we can break the grip of corruption, our politics can meet the people's needs instead of serving the wealthy and powerful. That's a fight we have to win.
Joining us now is Democratic Senator John Ossoff of Georgia. He's a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Senator, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It seems that the votes that Senator Schumer is going to force coming up in the Senate, even this week, go to some of these issues that you're talking about in terms of the Trump team corruption that the Senate Democrats now are trying to block.
Lawrence, thank you so much for having me. And yes, and look, I am running in Georgia against two Trump lackeys who, you can rest assured, as they race for the president's approval, would be voting for this crooked ballroom and this insurrectionist slush fund.
This is an evil war, an illegal war. This is an idiotic war, but it is also a very profitable war. War is always very profitable, but this has been very profitable for a specific group of people. Certainly very profitable for the Epstein class. Certainly very profitable for the Trump family. And that Venn diagram, by the way, is a circle. But that is certainly part of this, all the profit, the benefit. Who can make a buck? And it's everybody in the Trump family. That is the goal. And with so many people confused because maybe they trusted Donald Trump, maybe they trusted him, so many people confused. Why are we at war? Your politicians are corrupt is a really digestible and easy to understand answer. And we should be saying that more. It is the truth. It's the truth. And we're going to on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Don't let them silence you. I love you all. And until next time, I'll see you.